I'm really happy to stay here with all of you. And I'm going to speak a little about the projects that I'm working in Mexico. So I am Arley Ramirez Garcia, and I am a PhD student from Universidad Michoacana de San Nicolás de Hidalgo. Chester Zoo is supporting two projects. The first one is the structure of the fish community and its role in Lake Zacapu. That is a small lake, but with high biodiversity in central Mexico. And the other project is the reintroduction of fish extinct species to their natural habitat. So this is the both projects that Chester Zoo is supporting in Mexico, and in both projects I'm working. So I'm going to try to speak, I'm going to try to talk about projects. So first I'm going to start with the Lake Zacapu. This is a really small lake, but with high biodiversity. It's considered a hotspot in central Mexico. And it's a really small lake that we can find in the middle of Mexico. But however, this lake presents many anthropogenic activities, like the water pollution, extraction of water from the springs, non-native species, fishing pressures, and we create this project first because we want to conserve all the biodiversity from this habitat. So the main objects of this project is the evaluation of the communities, but we evaluate fish communities, macroinvertebrates, phytoplankton, zooplankton, water parameters, and biology information of the species, like the reproduction and the trophic ecology of the fish species from the lake. And with all this information, we will give recommendations to the authorities about the biological communities from the lake. And with this, we want to help the management plan for conservation of the species. Also, we are working in the education program with the society that is living around the lake. So we went to the fieldwork and we make the sampling, and we collect fish, macroinvertebrates, phytoplankton, and all the communities. And in this project, it's involved many students, different students, but this is my PhD project. So also with the fishermen from the lake, they are helping us to in the sampling. So we found that this small lake has 13 fish species, 11 native and 2 non-native species. But also we can see many different endemic species in this lake. We have 2 endemic species of fish and 1 axolotl fish endemic also from the lake. But also in this small lake, we can find an Araulic species. This species has been disappeared from other systems that they should be, and right now it's only living in this lake. So that is really important to conserve this place because we have many different native and endemic species. And most of the species that they are in this lake, they are under conservation also by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. So most of them are in critical endangered or endangered. So this is another important thing from the fish species in the lake. But something really important is what people think about the native and endemic species from Zacapu Lake. So we work with the fisherman group, and at the beginning they didn't want to collaborate with us because they think that we want to stop fishing, but we didn't want that. We want to continue with collecting fishes, and they start working with us in the project. So the environmental education project. At first, we have to identify the local organization and the groups and the actors, and we did interviews and specific questions to get a diagnosis. But also, we went to visit schools, of the ecology office, the government, and different groups, and with all the people around Lake Sakapu, we create a group of work. Because most of the people that are living around the lake, they know that there are many different species in the lake, but they didn't know anything about them. So something really important to protect the biodiversity is that the people have to know what they have and how can they protect these different species. For this, we create illustrative taxonomic grids with the different fauna. For example, we make amphibians and reptiles, plants, birds, and also fish. And with all this information, we want to make talks, workshops with the local people, and with this, they can protect the species. We are still working in this project. I didn't finish yet, so we are still working in this project. So we have to continue with the workshops around the lake to protect the native species, and also with all this information we want to create a management plan. But we didn't do it yet because we are still continuing working with that. So for this project is still working, and Chester Zoo is still helping us. So this is all the information that I have now for this project. But now I want to talk about the other project that is supporting also by Chester Zoo. This project is the reintroduction of the extinct fish species to their natural habitat. So Sogoneticus tequila and Spitia francesa, they are two small fish that they are extinct in the wild. So they are from a small river that is located in southern Mexico. The river is Ixtlan River, but it's really small lake. And unfortunately, this lake has many different human activities. For example, one part of the river is a pool where people go to swim in there, and there are the modification of the river has been. So there are many different activities, anthropogenic activities in this river, and these are the reason that the many different species has been disappeared from the lake. Also, the river is polluted, so both Sogoneticus tequila and Spitia francesa disappeared from the lake. But we have these species in the university, in the Laboratorio de Biología Acuática in Morelia, Michoacán, Mexico. We have these species in an aquarium. So we start with this project to reintroduce the species to their natural habitat. So we evaluate many different characteristics before the reintroduction of Sogoneticus tequila, because we want to make clear that the fish species could be survived. So we have to evaluate where is the best place to reintroduce the species. So we evaluate water characteristics, habitat quality, communities of plankton, phytoplankton, macroinvertebrates, fish, and parasites. And with all this information, we decide that the best place to reintroduce Sogoneticus tequila are the springs in this part, because in this part the habitat was better than the other parts of the river. So we reintroduced 1,015 individuals in the upper part of the river that is this place, but this is a pool where people go to swimming. We reintroduced females and males in this small pool, but first we put a mark. This is like a tattoo with different colors. So all the fish was marked with elastomers, and we know every fish when was reintroduced. So after 1 year, we continue monitoring the species, And now we know that the fish are reproducing in this place because we found individuals without the mark. That means that they are babies. They are babies from the older fish that we put in the small pool, and they are now they are reproducing and feeding in this place. That means that they are established a new population, and they are trying to establish along the river. But we are still continuing monitoring these species. But also, this is really important that we are introducing the species that has been extinct. But also, we have talks with the local organizations and with the schools. We made workshops and also expositions and murals about the fish and the nature that they have in the river. At the beginning, the people didn't know anything about the fish from the lake. But when we start with the program, with the education program, was really interesting in the fish and the different species from the lake. So this is really important to the conservation for the species and also for the Zoonethicus tequila, because the kids now recognize the fish and they can protect the fish. So we are still monitoring the population of the Zoonethicus tequila, but now we are trying to reintroduce another fish species. This is Stifia francesa, and it's other species that has been extinct in the same period that Zoonethicus tequila. And also we have in the laboratory. So for this reason, we now to reintroduce this species. But this species is also in university, but we have a semi-natural pond in the botanical garden in the university, and we put many different fish species here. They are growing the population, and then we have enough number to reintroduce to the river. So we are monitoring the population in the pond before to reintroduce in the river, because we want to make sure that the species can be. So we are evaluating the reproductive cycle and trophic aspect to the species in the pond, and now we are reintroduced also the species to the river. But this species is also marked, they also have the tattoo, so we can put the tattoos in all the fish to make sure that the fish that we are going to put, they can reproduce and they can reproduce in the river and grow in the population. We made the first introduction last April, but in this first reintroduction was really interesting because people from the community they participated in the reintroduction, and the kids was very happy with the reintroduction of the fish species because they want to collaborate and they are now protecting the fish species. So there are a small local group with kids and adults, and they are really interested in the conservation of the species and how they has been disappeared from the in the past, and now they are coming back again to the river, and people are really happy with that. So we are really happy to reintroduce this species again and try, and we don't want they become extinct again. So that is the reason that the local people is working together with us, and we are happy with that because they are getting their participation in the reintroduction of the fish species. This project is still working also, and also it's supported by Chester Zoo, and we will continue with this project 2 or 3 or 4 years more, because we want to make sure that the fish species can establish a very healthy population. Zoonethicus tequila and Scythia, both species, we want that they can be really established in the river. And well, that's that's all about both the projects. But if you want to know more information about the projects that we are developing in Mexico, you can visit our webpage or in Facebook, and you can see what are doing. This is information. We had a lot of information about the reintroduction of the species and the other project about the protection, the conservation of the hotspot from central Mexico. So if you have any question, you can visit our webpage, or also you can send me an email or everything. And if you have any question right now, I will be happy to reply. And thank you so much.